Been a lot of talk of recession as of late, with many economists debating not if, but how and when we should expect an economic downturn. Though what Yahoo Finance senior columnist Rick Newman calls the recession industrial complex may rarely be on the money. He joins us now. Rick, it has been frequent over the past year. Just about every economist has some percentage of a recession. What's their percentage?
Well, we're not in a recession right now, and I was wondering how many predictions of recessions have there been since the last recession? So just to create the context here, the COVID recession started in February 2020. It only lasted 2 months. It was over in April 2020. We had a big rebound after that. And ever since that rebound, we've had economists saying a recession is coming. I mean, it's technically true that a recession is coming because at some point in the future, like over the next 1,000 years, there is going to be another recession. It's just a fact of the business cycle. But there have been so many predictions of recessions that didn't materialize during the last 2 years that I think recession predictions are becoming kind of meaningless. I just went back and looked at all the different places that were predicting recessions in 2021, in 2022. There were always good reasons. The yield curve inverted. The Fed started to raise interest rates. We couldn't possibly continue growing the economy and having more jobs. And yet here we are. The economy continues to grow and job growth is remarkably strong. So my conclusion from all this is, sure, we are going to have a recession sometime, but just be skeptical when you hear people predicting about a recession.
Yeah, and this was an earnings season that started with basically all the big bank CEOs predicting, including Jamie Dimon, some type of mild recession. But Rick, how much does it depend on truly what the definition of a recession is?
The definition of a recession is not as simple as people like to think. So there's this sort of old textbook definition that if you have 2 consecutive quarters of declining GDP growth, then that by definition is a recession. That is not correct. There's a group of economists that calls recession start and end dates, and that is not how they define a recession. They define it as a considerable slowdown in economic activity that lasts for a while and is pretty significant. So there's a lot of wiggle room in that definition of a recession. But some common sense metrics are you cannot really have a recession when you're adding 300,000 new jobs a month. I mean, you really can't have a recession when the unemployment rate is 3.4% at 50-year low as it is now. So if we ever do get a technical recession this year by some measure, and yet we still have a strong job market, then who cares? Great. Let's have more recessions.
Yeah, it's kind of Clinton-esque in terms of depends upon the definition of is, but we won't go down that road too much further. Let's switch over to politics now. CPAC is underway, or Conservative Political Action Committee, and it was always where the future king was anointed for the Republican Party. This year, not entirely clear. You got Trump and Nikki Haley there, Ron DeSantis and everyone else skipping it. Does it still matter?
We'll find out. I mean, we know that the distortions in the Republican Party are so weird that you have to almost be extremist to get nominated in the Republican Party these days. But then that's a problem actually winning in a general election. So, Trump's loss in 2020 demonstrated that. And then Trump endorsed a bunch of very sketchy extremist right-wing candidates in the 22 midterms, and they did very poorly as well. Big indicator here is I think Fox News is not even covering the CPAC conference this year. Certainly not with the sort of breathless coverage they've had in the past, as if this is must-watch TV. And there's another problem, which is that the guy who runs this, his name is Matt Schlapp, he's in some hot water because there's an allegation of sexual impropriety against him. So, maybe you've just got maybe you've got a little bit of normalcy trying to creep back into the Republican Party. I think it'll be a long time before we get back to a Reagan-esque Republican Party. But if fewer people are watching the CPAC convention, I don't think anybody's going to mind.
Oh, it's interesting that Fox is not covering it. Really surprised. Of course, they've got a few issues. They're called Dominion.
Of their
About
own.
a billion reasons to be concerned. Senior columnist Rick Newman, good to see you, sir.